This is a nice little problem that David handed to me. He had a user who had a list of waypoints and he wanted to export them into an Excel spreadsheet. I know that in the forum there's an article that tells you how to take an Excel spreadsheet and import a list of waypoints into Anquet. I wrote it, and I was sure it must be possible to do it the other way. But having a bit of a think and tried a few things, I eventually managed to generate a list of waypoints that could be imported into Excel. The trouble was that the coordinates were all in latitude and longitude, whereas the user wanted it in British National Grid, which to me makes absolute sense since I prefer the National Grid as well. Problem is that converting latitude and longitude to the grid structure in Excel would be a nightmare. And then I thought, if I can export it in a root card, the root card actually outputs them in the format that you've specified in Anquet. So in his case, it would be National Grid, just what we want. But there's a problem doing that. The root card only works on routes. You can't export a list of waypoints. You can only export a list of waypoints in a route. Okay. So this becomes a sort of three-stage process. But it can be done, and it's pretty straightforward. Here I have a file with a list of some of the tops in the Pentland Hills. So the first thing to do is to export it as a GPX file. And I'll just call it Pentland Tops. So I've exported that as a GPX file, so I now have a list of waypoints. And I'm going to use a product called GPS Babel to turn that list of waypoints into a track. So there's my input file, the Pentland Tops. Output file, I'll call it Tops as a route. You'll see I've done this before. Yes, I'll overwrite it. Now the transformation. I'm going to process waypoints. GPS Babel is an excellent package. There's various filters you can apply. In this particular case, I'm looking at the miscellaneous group, and it will do transformations. I'm going to transform waypoints into routes. And this delete just means that it reads in a set of waypoints, creates a route from them, and it just dumps the waypoints. It doesn't output them to the file. So I've set it up to do that. I'll point out that there's a whole load. You can turn tracks into waypoints. You can take a route and convert it to a track. You can take waypoints and put it in the route, which is what I'm doing. You can take a route and convert it to waypoints. Very flexible. So I am now going to run this, take my input file, list of waypoints, and generate a route from it. Let's run. Translation successful. I should point out that GPS Babel is a very flexible package. You can actually run it as a command line, and if you understand it, documentation is very good. You can do an awful lot of things with it. So that's that done. So if I now close that file and import the GPX file I just created, Tops as route, you will see that I now have a route linking all the points I created, purely for convenience. doesn't get a name, but it doesn't really matter, but just so we know what's happening. Call it tops. So I now have this route known as tops with all the waypoints in it. I can now put that through the route card system and generate a file that I can read into Excel. Now, route cards is an excellent bit of an extension to Anquet. You can generate route cards in various formats, but the one that interests us is the waypoints as a CSV file. Get it in CSV format, it'll read into an Excel spreadsheet, no problem. We could use this one, but it doesn't include the height data. Now, I don't know if the user wants height data or not, but for a set of tops you would normally want height data. So what I did is I created my own template, which you can do. Again, in the documentation for Outdoor Map Navigator there's a section on route cards and how to create them. But I'm going to use that one. Apply. OK. Now when I select that route and click route card, it will generate the output file for the route card, and then we'll open up Excel. Because it's a CSV file, it will automatically open up Excel, and there's Excel opened up with the information. There you are. Matching list of waypoints, their coordinates and their height into a spreadsheet. 3 steps, but none of them too difficult. So I hope that solves your problem.